Every single one of you, what a great time. We're getting ready to is it being live streamed now,
Yep,
Zach?
it's
We're
starting
good.
right now.
All right, awesome guys. We are live. Welcome to Wealth Wednesday. This is obviously Jody Humphrey here. I got Zach and Kim Leoty going to be helping with us today, along with the great Mauricio Garcia, and then also we're going to have hear from Tim O'Rourke. Hopefully, I'm making sure that Tim is going to be here in a minute. I'm going to double check on that. But I'm excited to have all of you here. Tim's on here. He's ready to rumble. He's looking good. Saying, "Give me that microphone." I love it. I love it. Love it. So, thank all of you for being here. We've got great things happening. We've got some announcements for today. We're very excited about. The first thing is that on April the 8th, which is going to be a week from, I'm sorry, the 15th, April the 15th, which is 2 weeks from today. And this is not April's Fool, by the way. I thought about some April Fool's pranks, but we don't want to do that in a business setting because we'll get everybody confused. So we're all operating under real information. But on April the 15th, that we're going to have it's going to be a virtual event. This is going to be for the nationwide virtual money matrix, which we're going to be doing a big financial education night, and we're so excited about it. We'll be getting you the information out in the next 24 hours. So mark your calendars that night, April the 15th, it's probably going to be at 7 o'clock. We'll be getting you the information on that. So we're so excited about it. So without any further ado, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Tim O'Rourke to go over our getting our minds straight here as we go into this crazy world we're living in. So Tim, knock us out.
Hey, thanks, Jody. Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Glad to be here. Wow. Whew, where do we start, huh? Kind of a crazy world right now. Well, I want to talk about something. I want to kind of center on a lot of things here today, if I could, to give you some things to think about because I think this is a pivotal time we're living in right now. We're seeing history develop right between our eyes, and I mean right between our eyes. I couldn't stress this more, that this is an opportunistic time for all of us. This is probably the most critical time for each and every one of you, and also understand the implications of what's going on here. So let me kind of paint the picture. The world is changing now and right before our face in ways that you're going to read about this in history books, because what's going on in this Iran war and the Middle East is really quite an amazing event, because the official narrative, that the U.S. has had, and this goes back a long time. We've had a run-in with Iran. Remember the Shah of Iran and that whole situation back 47, 48 years ago. The conflict there was they've killed a lot of Americans and took hostages, and they've they used to fly. The greatest thing, or the dumbest thing we've ever done, is disrupted Iraq, because Iran and Iraq kind of offset each other. They had battles all the time. And so when we took out Iraq, that kind of left Iran to sit there and grow unchallenged, pretty much. So as they built that nuclear kind of capability and kept threatening to build nuclear weapons, which we know that we didn't want that radical um, kind of regime to have those kind of powers and weapons. So our narrative has always been about the U.S., having a conflict with Iran, being a center of nuclear influence in that region. But that's really not why we're there. And if you heard my conversation talk about our national debt and where that issue is going, where that problem is going, the deeper strategic reality about something far more fundamental of why we're there, it's really control of the Middle Eastern oil is really why we're there. I mean, they can say, and honestly, I understand Israel doesn't want Iran to be a power there. They're a threat to Israel, because all the Gulf states will side with whoever's kind of the most powerful entity there outside of Israel. But it's really our interest there is Middle Eastern oil, and here's why. And think about, go back to Venezuela. When we took out the president of Venezuela, it's really about controlling oil because their oil was going to China. Well, now that kind of cut off China as a resource. So China is really getting their oil from Iran, and so we're controlling the oil now throughout the world. And what does that control is the petrodollar. So controlling global oil supply around the world is our primary mechanism in the United States that helps us sustain our reserve currency status in the world. I mean, that's the real reason we're there. And it helps us manage our out of control problem with our national debt, which is I don't know if you've ever gone to the US debt clock, but we're now over $39 trillion, our national debt. And it's running wild. If you sit there and watch the clock, it just drives me crazy. I can't watch it but for a second or two. But our national debt now is over $39 trillion. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell acknowledged just publicly yesterday that this debt is not sustainable. So this is not just an economic problem, it's a vital this is vital for American financial dominance to control the oil, to control the petrodollar, to control the US being the reserve currency. So that's what I want you to understand, okay? No matter what the president says tonight on his address to the country, we've neutralized their capability to make nuclear weapons. That's not what it's about. So back to Iran for a second here. Their religious regime has survived nearly 50 years, okay? So think about that. It's been in power for a long time, 50 years now, and it understands, what it's up against with the US. It obviously cannot withstand the military power of the US, but it understands the dynamic of what's going on here. And think about this for a second. It's watched Iraq, it's watched Afghanistan, also Libya. Remember, we took out Libya too. So it's watched us dismantle these countries. And after they lost their strategic leverage points, they've watched all this. And so Iran knows that it cannot lose its leverage point, which is the Strait of Hormuz. So it's taken all that into consideration. And the other thing is it's spent 25, 30 years now really getting prepared for, and it knew the US was going to come after it at some point. So it's been preparing for us to come in and it potentially drop in troops. So in that preparation, they've also cemented their tentacles, I'll call it tentacles, throughout their whole society of their government, their military, their security, call it their apparatus. So they're pretty well, their whole religious regime is entrenched in that government and their society. And when Trump said, we're giving the people the mechanism to take control, there's no way they can take control. They don't have the resources, they don't have the guns, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the training to go against what that regime has set up. Even if you take out all their leaders, they've got another layer under that, another layer under that. There's no way that you can't do that from the air of constant attacks by airplanes. So you have this dynamic going on there that they're aware of what we're doing and they're prepared for any kind of military on the ground conflict. The Gulf states now, as they always have, and this is my experience of living over there. Like I've been in Tabuk, I've been in Riyadh, I've been in Al Khobar, I lived in Jeddah, I lived in Al Khobar, which are two opposite sides of Saudi Arabia. And I've been all throughout the UAE. I've visited Bahrain. I've visited all the UAE countries. I've been to Lebanon. I mean, I've been throughout that whole region extensively, and their military, they can't protect themselves. They relied on the U.S. to protect themselves, and that's what they gave the power to us to protect their oil, basically, so they could sustain their lifestyle. So that was the trade-off, and then by that we got to price everything on oil in currency, our reserve currency. So that protected the U.S. ability to basically spend to what we wanted to. That's what's given us all these 40, 50, 60 years ability just to run up the debt that we have. So when you think about this in the big picture, you kind of see how this has all come together. So the Gulf states are basically, they're held hostage to whoever's the biggest power over there. And if Iran survives this, I mean, outside of Israel, of course, if Iran survives this, then it's going to be interesting to see, because they're going to have to bow to Iran, because Iran stood up to the biggest military in the world, most powerful, and they still have control over the Strait of Hormuz, no matter what the outcome of this is. So let me give you three realistic scenarios I think that could happen. Number one, we continue the air campaign for months. I mean, maybe a month, maybe 3 weeks, whatever. No ground troops are deployed. I don't think America has the will to really go in there with ground troops, or the administration to pledge ground troops to go in there. But at some point, we declare victory, saying that we've neutralized their nuclear ambitions and we won. Basically, the petrodollar will weaken, the US dollar will weaken. Back to that conversation I had about the US dollar weakening. Well, that's going to be even further weakened. Interest rates will come down, I think, in that scenario. But Iran will come out of that as a formidable power in the Middle East. Scenario number two is US does commit ground troops. Unlikely, but in that kind of terrain, I think we'll lose that battle. We won't lose it big, but we'll lose it because we're going to be in, and we'll withdraw troops. We'll claim some kind of straw man kind of victory, but we'll pull those troops out pretty quick, because no country has ever won that kind of battle in that terrain, in that country, ever in modern history. So they'll activate their defenses that they're prepared for, and they'll kill a lot of Americans in that fight. So we won't get any support from any European countries, and within 6 months or less, we'll be out of that little game, and the Gulf countries will align back with Iran, so that there's peace there. Iran will continue to control the Strait of Hormuz and have dominance in that part of the world. So that's number two. Number three, American scenario, basically, we declare victory over there. In the next coming weeks, we just withdraw. And again, Iran retains the stranglehold over the Strait of Hormuz. And out of all these scenarios, I don't see oil prices coming down any time soon, which really is going to be an interesting play out for us. So as that happens, they keep their leverage point, and that disruption of 20% of the oil of the world going through that bottleneck there is going to be an issue. And then you've got the Houthis now that have all of a sudden come together, and they're threatening 12 to 14% of the actual global trade going through the Red Sea, which is creating more economic pressure. There's no military response that we can muster up that's going to resolve that issue. So it's a mess, basically, right? It's a complete economic mess. So the political will to sustain all this, as I said earlier, is less than 40% of Americans actually support this war. and the economic pressures are mounting every day now. And as you've seen it at if oil reaches, over 120, 130, or even up to $150 a barrel in the United States, we most certainly will enter into a recession, which, believe me, the current administration doesn't want to have happen. The wealthy tend to be spending money still right now on travel, luxury goods, new vehicles, things like that. That seems to be propping up the economy right now. But the working and middle class, the people we deal with, those are the people that are taking the brunt of all this right now. And it's squeezing them in ways that are very real. I mean, talk to the people on your team, talk to the people out there that are feeling the pain of this. And realistically, when this economic pressure builds more and more, you're going to see people looking for ways to take control of their financial future. So they're open to opportunities maybe that they dismissed earlier, that when things were not as disruptive, when gas was $2.60 a gallon, $2.80 a gallon. Now I looked this morning, it was $4.06 was the average gas around the country. So they need additional income. People now, they need protection for their families. This same thing happened during the COVID years. I mean, look how well we did during the COVID years because of that economic pressure. Everybody had to close down, work from home. Everybody was afraid that HCI wasn't going to perform. We overperformed. This is our opportunity to overperform. This is the opportunity for each and one of you to overperform, because families in your community now are looking for options. Believe me, they are. That extra $120, $130, $140 that now they got to pay at the gas pump, that's taking money out of their pocket for food, for paying for rent, for paying for all these different things. I mean, a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. And so now that person is struggling with all these rising costs, and they're motivated. They're motivated to be a new associate of your team for tomorrow. The client worried about their family financial security today is the policy sold to somebody tomorrow. So this economic disruption I'm talking about, historically, if you look throughout history, it produces some of the greatest growth periods in the insurance industry, precisely because people are reminded of their vulnerability and their need to supplement their income. HCI, we have the products, we have the system, we have the experience, we have the training. I mean, we have Zach and Kimberly, Jody Humphrey, who's been through this 100 times. This is the moment that demands urgency. Get out there and tell the story. I'm telling you, people, this is the greatest opportunity that you're ever going to get. This is like the crescendo of opportunities. The time is now. The world's circumstances are presenting this opportunity like I've never seen before. I mean, this is just amazing. So I hope you grasp what's going on here and what a great opportunity. So back to you, Jody.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. What a powerful, I know what's going on, man. Tim's recruiting. He's gone crazy. I love it. Selling the dream. That was very powerful. And it was also dead on. I want to make sure that you know how urgent things are. I had a conversation right before this call with a lady who's actually downstairs with Dawn right now. A great lady, one of the sharpest ladies I've met in a long time. And we're talking about her husband who had retired military, very successful, in captain in the military. And he was in retirement for a little while, decided he wanted to do something. But he happened to see an ad come by talking about Amazon and some of the opportunities that Amazon had for their distribution side. And so he went into a business opportunity there. And I was thinking, how many people are sitting out there right now knowing that they need to go do something different, whether it's because they have to or because they want to, and they're looking, and the next thing that calls on them is going to be what they join. It's got to be us. We got to be the loudest and the proudest. We got the greatest opportunity. And not only that, as Tim says, man, we got to go save the people. We got to go help people, give them hope, give them answers. So great stuff. Thank you so much, Tim. All right, now we're going to shift gears and go over to Kimberly. We had a great opportunity this past week in Atlanta to have an economic summit, if you will. We call it the Money Matrix. And we're going to replicate a little bit of that for you today. But then also, we're going to get ready to hear some great things from Mauricio Garcia as we wrap up. So I'm going to turn it over to you for a few minutes and I'll go right along with you, Kimberly.
Awesome. I don't have the presentation in my hands, but I can get it. Do you have it?
I have it in my hands.
Okay. Actually, I have it. Let me see.
Okay.
I think I have it. So why don't you talk about, no, but I will find it. Just so you don't have to click for me. I'll pull it up from here. Let's talk about the virtual event that we're going to do.
You mentioned it at the very
On April
beginning.
15th. So this is a little spoiler of what we did last week. Some of you guys were there and you saw the event live. But for those of you that weren't, we're hosting this virtually because we want you to have the ability to invite to it as well. Make sure that you kind of know what we're doing, what we're talking about. I obviously can't talk and do things at the same time. Can y'all tell? I have many talents, but that is not one of them. So let me pull this up. I think this is it. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, we will kind of give you a spoiler alert on this today, and then you will see the live version on April 15th. But on April 15th, it's something you can invite your clients to, and you'll know kind of what we're going to talk to them about, but it's awesome. So I'm not going to go through the entire presentation today, but we are going to hit some highlights. Jody, are you going to do the James part or no?
You just do it. I'll jump in as we go.
Okay, great. So just to show you the financial matrix, right? That's who we were and what we did. We had translation. I'm sure we'll do that again. Matt Salvatore spoke. We had a women and wealth portion because obviously it was National Women's History Month. And then we went into how to win the money game. So I'm just going to go through some of these slides with you. So how to win the money game. This is your opportunity to win. And as Tim said, as Jody said, as we talk about all the time, everybody has to get their money right and everybody has to understand how money works, which is what we're teaching them. So we went over some basic education with our clients first, right? Is number one, take control of your money. The secret to financial security is learning to control the things that you can control. So number one, pay yourself first. Put yourself and your family before any obligations that you have. So if your goal is to save 20% of your income, take 20% of your income, auto draft it to your savings account, and then pay your bills and spend the rest of it. Make sure that's what pay yourself first means. Make sure you pay yourself first. Number two is earn additional income. You guys have heard me say that a million times. It's not that people can't afford, it's not that people can't manage their money, it's that they don't make enough, right? So they have to figure out how to make more money. We obviously think we have a great part-time business opportunity for people that are looking to supplement their income. But regardless of what they do, I don't care if they start a lawn care business or work or flip things on eBay or whatever, you're going to have to make extra money. And finally, adjusting your lifestyle. For most people, that doesn't sound fun. Nobody wants to adjust their lifestyle. They like their standard of living. But if they're not willing to go make more money, then they got to figure that out, right? The difference between your wants and your needs. Set those priorities and develop a disciplined budget plan so you can reach your goals. You can make that happen. Avoid the credit trap. Understand the necessity to have an emergency fund. And if it's going to go on a credit card because you can't afford it, unless it's an urgent need, then don't do it, right? Take it out of your wallet. And, I saw something a long time ago that said, don't close your credit cards because that's going to hurt your credit, but take it out of your wallet and shred it. Then you can't use it, right? You don't have access to it. Or freeze it. Like they said, put it in like a Ziploc bag and fill it full of water and stick it in the freezer. So you got it if you need it, but it's going to take you a minute, right? To undo that. But ultimately, change your way of thinking. Money is something we've all been programmed with, and our beliefs and our, how we handle it emotionally since we were born. We have to work on changing that. Like you guys hear us talk a lot of times about the power of positivity with your words, right? My kids make fun of me all the time, and they're like, "Oh my God, Mom, really?" I'm like, "Yes, right. It matters. We don't say if, we say when in this house, because it will happen if you believe it will happen." Same thing with your financial paradigm. You have to change your way of thinking about money, because we've all been programmed in whatever world we grew up in to think about money the way we were raised, right? So we have to work on that. That's not just something you're going to wake up one day and say, "Oh, I'm a great money person now." It's something that you literally have to work on every single day. And then finally, time and consistency. You can pay now, right? We can start now, whether you're 20 or 50. Now's better than tomorrow, I promise, right? So starting now, or we can really pay later, right? It's important to start saving immediately. Some of you guys have seen this. The longer you wait, the less doubles you'll have on your money. And we want our money to double. I want my money to double and triple and quadruple and do it as many times as it can forever, right? We all do. And it's not only important how much money you save, but also how early you start saving. My oldest is 25, 23, 18, 16, and I hit them between the eyes all the time of, I've gotten you here. I've taught you this information, but you have to start saving money. I don't care if it's $100 a month. You got to do something, right? And then as you make more money, then save more money. But start saving early as you can. And again, if you're not 20 and you're 50, fine, start today. It's better than tomorrow. This is an example of a person that started when they were 25 years old. They put in $3,600 a year into an account and stopped contributing after 7 years. So from age 25 to age 31, they contributed $3,600 a year, and then they just allowed that money to grow, and they allowed that money to compound. At the end of that time, at age 48, they had $128,000 in this account, and they had only contributed $25,000. Big deal, right? And this is somebody that said that they were going to start later. So this person waited until they were 31 to start, and they contributed $3,600 a year every single year until age 48. So after 7 years, they started saving. And so they had to contribute a total of $61,000 to have about the same thing that we had today, that the other guy had at the same age, right? So would you rather contribute 25,000 to have 128,000, or 61,000 to have 131,000, right? It's a no-brainer. So starting now makes more sense than starting later. Even if it's a smaller amount, you can increase it as you go throughout your life. You guys have heard, yeah.
I think, Kimberly, real quick on that, just wanted to make a point on it. The two times that I've ever accumulated money in my life has been when I had to make some real hard choices to where I began, even though I wasn't in a position to do it. Because, even, I promise you, even getting a big equity check in having to write the note that you want to put 25% of it into
Yeah.
integrity stock, whenever you realize that you're not going to have that money and you're putting it over there, you think about it.
You're
You know
like,
what
do
I
I
mean?
want to?
It's that you want to do it. And I did that way back before when I had a chance with Aegon, which was our kind of integrity story from before. But just really, really, as you're talking to the young crowd, that's what this part of the presentation was for. Really get them into that long-term mentality. And and I'm speaking to the younger crowd that are on this call and that may watch this call. A lot of times you come in and a lot of the younger people that join the company are like, well, I'll get to start getting my IUL later, or I'll start putting away money later when I'm getting to make money. Tomorrow never comes. I'm still waiting on tomorrow. We all are.
That's a
So
song.
begin. It is absolutely, and it's so true though. So do begin that process. It will gain you power, and I don't care what amount of money somebody starts putting away, they won't even feel it in 90 days.
I, I
Absolutely.
think I think that's a great point, especially about the younger generation. I think it applies to everyone though. I
Yeah,
know my
true.
kids, right? Like I see them, I know how many times they go to Starbucks or Dunkin' or something like that. I know that they go out to dinner with their friends. I go out to dinner myself. It is not cheap to go out to dinner, right? So they are making choices. They are spending money. It's just where are they putting it? So I think that's a great point, Jody. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, right? But also putting it away, you probably won't notice. And if you do, then back it down a little. The rule of 72 is talking about the magic of compounding, right? How many times we can get your money to double in your lifetime, in your investment world. So if you're earning, so basically whatever rate of return you're earning divided into 72 tells you how many times or how many years it's going to take your money to double. So 2% goes into 72 36 times, right? So if I have $100,000 at age 29, at 65, I have $200,000. At 4%, that money is going to double every 18 years because 4 into 72 equals 18, right? So my same 100,000 is now 400,000. But now when we look at that 8%, it's going to double every 9 years. And that's really where that compounding comes in, and it makes you really excited. Because instead of having $100,000 or instead of having 400,000 at 65, you now have 1.6 million. That is a significant difference, right? And it's all in understanding how your money works, allowing your money time to double, and making sure that the rates of return that you're chasing are going to give you as many doubles as possible. It's also important, and this just talks about simple interest. If we weren't having the compounding effect on our money, that same 8% every single year would only equal 388,000. So it's really important to have our money somewhere where it's going to compound, where our money is going to earn money on itself. That's what that means. But also, I tell people all the time that the rule of 72 is working for you or it's working against you. So for you is in our investment accounts while we're growing money, growing assets, right? But against us is in our credit cards. So I will allow you to do whatever you want to do, but I won't ask you to unmute at this moment. But I ask all the time, especially in a big room, what do you think the average interest rate is on credit cards? And, typically it's going to be somewhere in the high 20s, 25, 29% is going to be the average interest rates on credit cards. Well, if we take that same method and we say 25% into 72, just for giggles, that's probably every 2.5 years, the bank's money is going to double, right? So they are using the rule of 72. They're just using it for their advantage, not for ours. When you drive down the big cities, whether it's St. Louis or Atlanta or Charleston, even though Charleston's not a big city, let's not jinx that, right? Chicago, LA, like all these big cities. What do you see on the names of buildings? Typically, it's banks and insurance companies, period, right? If you don't believe me, go drive through one of them. Why is that? That's because they understand how money works, and that's our goal, is to empower you guys to know how that works as well. So maybe we can have our own banks and insurance companies one day. But we want your money to double, not the banks, right? So let's see if I can keep clicking. Sources of, so this is Zach's presentation. So that was kind of the how money works for everyone, but also the earlier crowd of understanding that portion of it, right? And then we're going to go into, and this still ties into the earlier crowd as well. Now we're going to go into Zach's IUL presentation. So sources of income in retirement, it used to be personal pensions, right? Who's got a pension anymore? Not many people. Personal savings, where I'm saving my money, and Social Security, right? That's how we used to have our income during retirement. Well, now it looks a little different, right? Instead of the traditional three-legged stool, we really have the one-legged stool right now. We're not sure the solvency of Social Security. I'm sure things will change with that. We'll figure that out. But most people are now saving inside what? Their 401k. Right? It's typically mandated by their employer. Maybe mandated is the wrong word, but it's strongly encouraged. A lot of times you're auto-enrolled, but whose money is inside of a 401k? Your money, right? So it's still personal savings, whether it's in a savings account or your 401k, it's still your money in there growing to support your retirement. So if we're responsible for 100% of our financial retirement, which we are now, what is that going to look like? How do we make sure that we have enough? How do we make sure that we're doing all of the right things? And that's where different concepts and conversations come in, especially when we're talking about taxes. So in 2009, October 2009, a lot of you guys have seen this article before, but Time Magazine said why it's time to retire the 401k and what you can do instead. We've been talking about this for literally almost 20 years now, right? And it's still our most common way to save money. Why? Because we do what we're told, unfortunately, sometimes as people, right? And we're incentivized to invest in it because our employers are giving us free money a lot of times in a match. Great, match money is free money. Take every single bit of that. But I have so many clients that I meet with that they're not putting in 5%, they're putting in 15%. Why? Because it's the only place they know to invest. It's the only place that they know I should put more money here. I should put more money here. And they don't understand what it's doing for us later. It is a tax deduction today, right? Because it's pre-tax money going in. But what's it going to do for us later? Some of you guys have seen Brother A, Brother B, but I'm going to go over it for you again. So this is exactly the same, right? Two different brothers. I have a sister and a brother, and obviously I have 4 daughters, so we all like to compete. Like, I'm going to do it my way, you do it your way, I'll do it my way, right? That's what these two guys are doing. Both 35, each married, 2 children, cookie cutter house, exactly the same, but they're saving the same amount of money in 2 different vehicles. What makes sense? So if we look at the old way, Brother A is putting $6,700 a month or a year, sorry, into his 401k, and his employer's matching $1,050. He's got a $500 a year premium on a $250,000 term policy for a 30-year term because he knows he needs to have life insurance. So he's spending about $7,200 a year out of his pocket. So Brother B says, I want to do that too, but I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it the new way, right? And they're not putting any money into their 401k. Even though they might have a tiny match, they don't think it's worth it. So they're not putting any money there. So there's 0 employer match and 0 contributions to their 401k. He's still contributing that same $7,200 annual premium that his brother's doing, but this guy's putting it into a $250,000 index universal life policy. So he's still got the same death benefit, right? He's just saving his money differently, but his actual out-of-pocket cost is $7,200, right? Same as his brother. So who made the right decision? Let's look at it. So Brother A, at the end of the day, when he's ready to retire, has $708,000 in his 401k. Obviously, we know 401ks are subject to market fluctuations, so the principal's not guaranteed and your gains aren't locked in, but that's what he had at the end of the day. He had 0 term insurance left because after 30 years, if I have a term policy, what happens? It goes away. Right? And I can get a new policy if I'm insurable, but if I am, and if I do, it's going to cost me $10,000 a year plus to replace that. So most people, unless they have a permanent policy when they're younger or convert it, they don't ever do that because they don't want to spend the money, right? That's just the way it works. And he's saved because he's smart, right? He's invested in this 401k, which is pre-tax, which is what your CPA is going to shout from the rooftops. So he's saved $65,000 in his lifetime, in his savings time of tax savings because he hasn't had to pay taxes on that money. Yay, that's a really great deal. So let's see how his brother did. You know, the stubborn younger brother that's like, I'm going to do it my way, right? Actually, they're the same age. So the stubborn twin. So this guy has $619,472 of cash value, but it is not subject to market fluctuations. We know this about Indexed Universal Life, right? IULs, right? Is we're guaranteed against loss. The principal is guaranteed, and the gains are locked in at every single crediting anniversary. So Brother A probably wins if we're just looking at dollars on this side, right? He has a death benefit still. That death benefit has grown because we have to have more life insurance than cash value to keep our money tax free. So now he's got a death benefit of $842,000 Plus, he has living benefits on that policy. And the other thing that's important to know is he stopped paying premiums. He's not putting the $7,200 a year in anymore either. He stopped because his brother did. He's like, okay, I'm done. What happens now? And he's had zero tax savings. So, you know, maybe he wins in the death benefit space, but the other is going to look more attractive to just the common, you know, normal average person that doesn't understand the distribution of this money. So which plan makes you more financially secure? We obviously know Brother B is going to win because I keep talking about it that way, but let's look at it. So Brother A has $708,000 in retirement. He wants a $55,000 income stream after taxes, which means he's got to pull $70,000 from his 401k to get an income of $55,000, right? Because we got to pay taxes on that money when we pull it from our 401k. So he's going to pay $15,000 of income tax every year he withdraws that money. And his balance after 17 years has reduced to zero. He has depleted his asset because he's pulled out all of his income, right? And there's no death benefit, obviously, or anything like that because he doesn't have life insurance anymore. So his brother started out with less money, right? He had less money sitting here, $619,500. As he goes, he wants that same income because they're competitive. They want to be exactly the same. I'm going to plot $55,000 a year too, brother. He's like, okay, fine, let's watch this. So he pulls out $55,000 a year in the form of tax-free loans. And what do we know about loans? Proceeds from a loan are not taxable, right? So he's paid $0 in income tax. So he doesn't have to pull out the same amount that his brother pulls out. And then after 30 years, he still has over $455,000 of cash value at age 95 because of the way this money is distributed. Because we pull it out as a policy loan, we don't actually withdraw it from the account. It continues to grow as if that money is still there. So he has over $455,000 of cash value still left, and he still has a death benefit with living benefits of almost $500,000. Who do you think wins now? I think Brother B wins, right? But it's important to show this to people literally side by side by the numbers. $708,000 at 65 for Brother A, 619. Brother A wins. $65,000 in tax savings for Brother A, zero in tax savings for Brother B. Brother A wins. $70,000 income stream for Brother A, $55,000 annual income for Brother B. I would rather have $70,000 a year than I would 55. But now I've got to pay income taxes. So I pay $15,000 of income taxes. I don't pay any as Brother B. Okay, I think maybe I'm winning on that one. Our income is exactly the same, right? Because I'm not paying taxes and my brother is. I've withdrawn my asset in my traditional 401k account down to zero in 17 years. I paid myself $935,000 of total withdrawals, which is a good thing, right? But if I had it in my IUL, in this example, I've had 30 years of income at $55,000 a year, and it's still going, which means I've pulled out a total of $1.65 million of tax-free income to me. It makes, like, to me, there's zero question. Brother A, do you remember how much he saved in taxes? I don't have oh, look, it says I can annotate. Let's pretend. Let's see what this does. I saved $65,000 in taxes, right? But I paid back $255,000 in order to distribute it to myself, right? So the government says, yeah, sure, you can save these taxes. And I'm sold today, because I only think about today, of I'm reducing my tax burden, right? But later, when I actually pull out my income, did I reduce my tax burden or did I increase it? Right? So we have to educate our clients on this. We have to educate people on how this works. And you can look in Brother B. Sometimes that's what people say is, yeah, but I'm going to have to pay cost of insurance. Yes, you are absolutely going to have to pay cost of insurance. But at the end of the day, you still have insurance, which means when you die, your family's going to get a death benefit, or if you need it and you're alive, you're going to get living benefits. But is $1.65 million more than 935,000? Yes. So I got more income out of this policy, but also is $173,000 for cost of insurance less than the $255,000 that I would have had to pay for taxes. If the cost of insurance is less than what I would have had to pay for taxes, it is always a good strategy. And that's where we are in this example. So you have your caps, your limits, things like that. We have less caps and limits on, you know, the insurance side. As long as it's properly structured, you can access it earlier, as long as there's cash value and all of those things. So it's just important to understand how that works. I don't know. Let's see, because I annotated. Now let's see how I clear all drawings. There, look, I'm teaching myself as we go. Okay, so this was something that Zach found that I thought was pretty interesting, and he obviously did as well. So we talk about the risk return paradigm, and you can see the numbers on the left correlate to the numbers on the boxes on the right. So commodities, business ventures, limited partnership, raw land, speculative common stock, blah, 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 right? You guys can read that. So when I look at it, number one is anything that is illiquid, I'm going to cross out, right? Because if I'm looking for somewhere to invest my money, liquidity is important to me. Well, all of those options go away if I'm looking for liquidity. If I'm looking for safety, all of these options go away, right? If I'm looking for rate of return, those other options, like if we look at CDs as number 11, CDs don't typically outpace inflation. They typically don't give us that same type of rate of return. Money markets is number 13, right? So we're going to mark through those because they aren't giving you exactly what you are looking for. And then finally, tax favored harvest. So if we want all four of those things, there's only one product that is going to give that to you. And that is a maximum funded life insurance policy that gives you liquidity, safety, rate of return, and tax favored harvest. So when we're looking at this, it's important to understand how that works. Jody, you're going to have to let me know. I know I have 10 minutes left. I know that you wanted Mauricio to talk too, so I can continue going forward, or I can stop here and put a plug in it. It's up to you.
I think we probably should just put a plug in it right here and just take this a great natural point to do the next one.
All right. Sounds
I
perfect.
guess, hey guys, and you want to be here. Isn't she incredible? You know how you think it feels to have her on your team? Feels good. Feels good. Feels good. I love anything, all
And
things
that's
Odie.
recorded. I'm just
I
kidding.
know. I love it. Phenomenal stuff. But thank you so much for that. And guys, I love what we do. We get into all these other things. You know, earlier I was in a recruiting presentation, the same one I mentioned before, and at the end the lady goes, you know, it's all great, but I sure do love what you do for people. And that's what it really comes down to. It's what we do is right, what we do is exciting, and I absolutely love it. So get with us next week here because we're going to be going over to the next part of that, which is the Be Your Own Bank side of that. And boy, am I excited about that because that's obviously quite the story. And you know, and you are building your own bank, whether you're doing it the small way or the big way. So we'll talk more about that next week. So excited to have Mauricio here. He's going to talk to us today as we finish up about Cyberzeus and the tools that we have. And we're excited to hear from him. So Mauricio.
Thank you so much, everybody. Good to be with every single one of you. Today is Wednesday. It's a busy day. Remember, we have a deeper Cyberzeus training, 2:30 Eastern time. Colton's going to send you an email. Check your spam, check everywhere, and join me today. Last week, we had about 130 people. And what I want to begin with today is just think about how many billions of people are right now navigating social media, whatever your platform was, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, whichever one you like, and how many people, as they scroll by, have some sort of financial worry, and they are listening to somebody else that is not you. I'm going to prove to you right now that sometimes we are overcomplicating this. Now, we've done this already in the past before we get lost in building tools to make our life simpler. I'm going to show you just to prove that there is weight in what I'm telling you, not just something I read on a textbook. Many times we overthink it in terms of thinking about, I always talk about having the innovative campaign of the month. Yes, let's say it's April. What are we going to teach in April, right? If you don't have ideas, you could go to the PowerPoint bank. There's actually a lot of tools that we can use inside of HGI to conquer your financial future topics. But the point I'm making is you got Cyberzeus as a platform to create your landing page, and then you take 2 to 3 weeks in promoting it and getting it done. That's one way to do it. But in reality, guys, if you wanted to, all of us have a phone. We have what I always call the Hollywood in our hands. And in this Hollywood in a hand, you turn on your camera, you get a little tripod, you get a nice little mic. Nowadays on Amazon, you can get very good mics. As a matter of fact, you can use your AirPod. Put an AirPod just to make sure the sound goes to your phone. Click go live. Pick a topic that, rule of 72, teach people on that. That is on the Conquer Your Future manual. You have the cost of waiting. I mean, I could go on and on. You probably have 100 concepts in here, right? That you can teach on that this material here, if it's signed by HCI, it's been through compliance. And I am this book right here, and then we have Tim here, but this was created, and it's got all of these different, the basics is education. You see, educating is the most elegant way of not going out there selling a particular product. The theory of diminishing risk or responsibility, right? Why you need insurance when you're young because you don't have a lot of money, and why you need to start saving now because eventually insurance is going to drop and you're going to need to be sort of, self-insured and whatnot. So all these concepts are here, and they are so many of them you can teach. So we could literally shut this training today. You go live on one of the topics you dominate, and you would get a lot of people. Let me demonstrate that to you right now. And what's happening is, if you have a nice landing page that you build on Cyberzeus to capture the leads, and that's the objective, is you have a place for them to capture from the direct messaging, have a place to send people so they can learn more. Now you want to obviously own the data, because right now TikTok owns the data. They have the name, they have the email, they have everything. You want to somehow get them out of TikTok into your world, into your Cyberzeus CRM, so that you can connect with them, you can invite them, and you can help them financially. So here's what I mean. If we go, I just want to make sure I have the platform ready, because I'm going to show you a few beautiful things here, I think, and we're limited. So one day we'll make a whole session just on that. So, because of the event that we have coming, the Money Matrix, the national webinar, we started going back in past and saying, when we've done virtual event and COVID, we had to reinvent ourselves. Like, it was not an option. You couldn't be knocking on doors or getting people to come to the office, or worse, going into people's homes, sitting across kitchen table the way it was done prior COVID. So everything was virtual, and so we had to pivot. And to be honest, if you go back and if you ask for my book, my business, like what I wrote during that period of time, it was probably my best time in terms of personal production, because I was generating activity. And just to give you a topic, I use from one of the PowerPoints that we have. We did a live, and how long ago was the COVID?
2020.
Yeah, 2020. So this is prior to that. We were testing here. Imagine going live, and you have 122,000 people. In other words, they watched the video, and then that thing kept going. There's so many pieces of business I wrote just from this particular video, which is really a video on how to maximize Social Security. Right? Obviously, I prepared on it a little bit, and I just gave education on it, and we had 120,000. Can you imagine? This is like a Tony Robbins, 120,000 people on a room listening to what you may have to say. Right? This is obviously in Espanol, because that was the niche, the market that I educate, and I produce something. But I just want you to just take note of that if I had not clicked go live, these people would have never commented. 122,000 people have not watched this and gone to my website. I created this website with what? With Cyberzeus. Garcia Mauricio Online, Mauricio Garcia Online. Like, these are sites that I create with that I have a place to send them. Right? And so if we go to TikTok right now, these are people live: 71, 120, 210, 73, 89. I think these are some of these people talking finance, right? 121 people, and it's 121 people. Like, it didn't have to send 10,000 mailers. I used to send 10,000 mailers to get 30 people to come to a workshop. you may argue is a little bit more, what do you say, filtered, because when you have to pay $1.50 or $2 just for somebody who has like a investable assets, but out of 121 here, you don't have to put that mask on. I'm just bringing. I'm going. There's so many people going live that have what they have. They have hundreds of people listening and commenting and doing. That's prospecting, right? So they're talking trading. Now we don't do that, but what I'm saying is you could go live now and you can literally provide value. Aren't we in the business of educating people? Right? Aren't we in the business of providing value? It's not that complicated. I just think we are overcomplicating things here. So you can go in there and find finance or find a particular topic, and then you find a bunch of whatever. It depends on your liking, but you will find a lot of different things if you go here to finance. You could go insurance if you're licensed. That's an industry or something you could talk about. Obviously, not needless to say, but you do a little study also to make sure that the language and everything you're doing is right in compliance, because there is that part. But if you're going to provide, if you stick with the like general rules of, hey, what's compounding interest, what is the rate of return, what's simple interest versus compound interest, and you stay there, you should be fine. Why insurance is important. I mean, you literally, if you picked up that Conquer Your Financial Future and you did it, whether that's every day. Imagine you woke up as part of your routine. I'm going to do my, instead of like spending 30 minutes trying to edit a perfect video, just go live. Have what? Have your not Sharpies, but have your markers, have your board, and have your phone, and have a topic. And there you go. And obviously, you're going to be doing a call to action. But whether it's financial literacy or personal finance, you will find a lot of people that are in that category. Let me see. I think we have to do either in shops.
Hey, Mauricio,
Yeah, go
quick
ahead.
question. A quick question. I'm loving what you're putting down today
Yeah.
with the lives and whatnot. I'm curious, we can also just sell the dream. We could go on there every Wednesday and kind of recap Tim's Wealth Wednesday talk, correct? And just kind of leverage
Yeah,
that as an
absolutely.
opportunity
I
to
mean,
help
you
be able
can
to get
sit down,
people.
have
Yeah.
a good conversation. You can literally just sit down and say, it's open the camera. It's just we have to get over the so judgmental thing or what people are gonna say. Like, I'm here as vulnerable as I can be, right? Not maybe not in the perfect attire, but what I'm saying is, you could literally be drinking your cup of tea or coffee and say, "Hey guys, obviously you gotta have a topic. You gotta prepare. You don't just want to wing it, you know." But also be as real, and maybe some of the concerns. Hey, listen, AI. I read this article about AI really coming for a lot of the jobs. What is happening right now with what used to be probably one of the most, as uh, high paid and a genius, jobs for the genius is coding. And now coding is becoming almost like so simple for most people to do. I wonder what will happen. And so where these people could go to, but the financial, I've been in the financial industry, and I looked at how that has really been the industry who suffered the least in almost the last 15 or 20 years of crisis. If we go back to 2021, when people were fearful of what's going on in dot-com bubble, they were reaching out to their planners. They were reaching out to the financial professionals, wanting answers about how they would protect. So point I'm making is, you could really just have a genuine conversation about the topic, and then you'll get people 20, 30, 50, whatever it's going to be, hundreds, right there. Right? You're not getting them because you're not doing the lives. That's it. That's the only reason. And so what I wanted to show you with that, with those things, is that I had been there. You could go to TikTok lives. You could do Facebook lives. You could do, if you want to do a little bit more sort of like produce, which you don't have to do this, right? You don't have to do this little bit more of sort of production where you come in and you do, but content do lead to conversations. And those conversations inevitably will lead to conversions. They will. And like I said, I've been there. I've done that. Here are my lives. I did a lot of lives through COVID, all kinds of lives. They were not perfect, none of them. I even did international type, you know. I mixed. Let me mix because at that time we had HGI Mexico, right? And so this was live. These were actually live. If you go here to the lives, this is more produced because it's YouTube. So you also have to understand what do you say? Let me refresh this thing because whenever you share on I guess whenever you share, it slows down. But here's what I mean. 1,300 views on the live stream. Process that to your head slowly. You go live. I don't even, I stutter so much. I know sometimes my ideas, my brain sometimes goes so fast at speeds that go faster than my thoughts. But I still had 1,300 people here, 8 comments, leads, right? Opportunities without doing the radio show or the TV show that's so expensive or the seminar, which is the traditional, typical way. I don't know why my screen froze and I have so many. It's my fault. I have so many different windows open. I apologize. I have to clean my computer. But I hope that today is the day you say, you know what? Why am I, maybe thinking about I'm going to this networking event to try and see if I can connect with 2, 3 people. I mean, do that. But why don't I just go live, add value, and capture out of those billions of people navigating through right now, we'll get 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100. And you do that every day. But you have to be in that state of mind. That is almost your method of operation. Otherwise, it's not going to work. That consistency and everything. And so if you carve out 30 minutes as a discipline, and if we all did that, right, which was the original intent of this whole thing is, can we collectively create 3 videos a day? If we get 500 views, that's 1 billion views. If we do a CTA, call to action for people to follow, learn more about what we do, even at a 5%, in other words, 5% of 95% of people will say, nah, only 5% will actually, our message would resonate with, convert, and then out of those, we recruit 1 to 2%. That's your 1 million recruits. But what has to happen is all of us would have to do 3 videos a day. And I would argue maybe less than 1% of the company is doing 3 videos a day, every single day. That is the trick. Can you do that? Can you do the 100 push-ups every day? You'll get the body you want, but do you do 100 push-ups every day? I don't know if you guys want to jump in, Jody, on this or anything, but because I think in terms of prospecting back in the day, yeah, you had to just make a list of the people you know, and we all understand the value of that. There's a relationship that's been built there in that list, and not your target market, your warm market. But guys, we are missing the boat on the billions out there. And yes, James, we could definitely find the right angle, the elegant way, and you could use ChatGPT now to help you organize the idea and say, well, this is the objective. I want to speak to the professional earning 6-figure income who's feeling the squeeze. If I invite them to an MLM, because everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Like if you go ask people all over, they want financial freedom, they want to be their own boss, they want to be entrepreneurs. But when they link the MLM, that drops to like 80%. That is the mark, that is the psychology. So how can you find the elegant way and say add value? Once they receive that, then one like, oh, wait a minute, this is just a way of building distribution. That's why Hubert always says control the conclusion that people are going to jump to. And if you start with that, and if you organize the ideas using AI a little bit, then the conclusion becomes more controllable, because you can find what are the angles and the way to say the context that you're going to follow, so people to be more receptive and not jump into, oh, this is another one of those things. Right? But you can have the conversation and you can lead both ways, financial side, and you can also lead with the problems that we're facing the world. So hopefully, because that was a lot that I threw out there, but hopefully all of us get our act together in terms of let's go live. Let's go live. Let's be mindful. Let's not think compliance like as an afterthought. It shouldn't be that. It should be the base, the foundation of it. You can even run the idea, say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about, talking about topic. How do I stay in compliance? Keep that documented. If Tim calls or whatever, you have and say, hey, listen, I did. And I think that's what regulators are really looking for, that we're not just being out there sort of like irresponsibly throwing a bunch of promises and things that, you know, that are outrageous. Like, you're going to make $10 million if you join me tomorrow, you know, type of thing. Jody, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. I squeezed a lot into we're 10 minutes
So
out.
that's great. I would just encourage everybody to be on the call with you today at 2:30, right?
That is correct. 2:30, and we're gonna dive a lot deeper into this. I'm gonna give some examples and even like a little guide of how we actually get started. Like, because I think that's what we all need to do to really. In addition to all the other stuff, I just don't. I think 30 minutes a day as a routine. Even if you have an hour with a routine to bring leads, you got the Cyberzoos to capture them, to nurture them. It just needs you. The party is waiting for you to step up and say, yes, I can go live. And I can tell you, it's not easy, but it's not complicated. I remember when I had to go live the first time, it was so, will people like me? Will I even get a view? Turns out I got 100,000 views in some of the videos. I got 20,000 and 5,000 and 1,500. So it starts changing once you actually do it. It's like, man, this is actually cool. Yeah. And
Also,
once
some of
you
these
get on
guys
your
are
way there, don't lose your way like me building technology.
also people are asking for the link.
Yeah,
actually,
let me put the link. Colton
Hey.
send this to everybody. It is my Zoom. It is my room. Just like we come to Jody for this training. I'll give you the Zoom ID because I would have to log out of this one. But the Zoom ID is 807-173-5320. I may even be able to copy it for you guys. Hold on. 807-173. I think I can paste it on the chat. Hold on. Here's the chat. I'm seeing you there at 2:30. I'm gonna be fired up. Boom. Okay, there you go. That's the link. It is 807-173. If not, just copy that link and see you there at 2:30. And let's go live, guys. Let's prospect and let's recruit the planet. We'll see you there.
Listen, also used to be, Mauricio, whenever you would recruit somebody in the startup interview, you'd have them do an Instagram live.
Yeah, right away, because you could go live right away. That is the
that.
perfect moment, really. And that's a great idea. I'm going to talk about that today. I'm definitely going to talk about that.
And then also, hey,
that's
listen,
a great
guys,
way
you
to
go
go.
look at what Giovanni's done the last little bit on his technology. I've sitting here looking at the 6 things that I posted on this routine. Not a routine yet. I've done it 2 weeks in a row, 3 a week on my Instagrams or my posts. I've got over 6,000 total views on each one across platforms. Think about that. That's 30,000 eyeballs, sets of eyeballs that came on that might not have seen anything before, but I'm not going to stop. The key is the same principle that Kimberly, I'm going to tie this whole thing into a bow. Start now, time and consistency. Those are financial principles, and those are also principles when it comes to this. Do it consistently, a little bit at a time, and you're going to do great things. Thanks, guys. Great program today. See you all at the top. Thanks.
Bye.